It's December, and that means Ask Dash. Let's get into another one. Hey yo, this is Dash, and welcome back. So we have another installment of the Ask Dash 2022 series, and this should be number 12. So today's question comes from D, from D's Backyard, D's Q Backyard Barbecue. Sorry. He said, how do you brine all of your Thanksgiving birds? I want to know if there's a way for me to work smarter and not harder. Assume there are 8 to 12 that need brine and cooked. Well, I talked about this on a live stream a few weeks ago. I actually have a dedicated 65-gallon trash can that I use to brine all of my turkeys. I usually or typically fill up and put 2 gallons of water per turkey into the brine. I usually max out at about 15, 17 turkeys. This year, the most turkeys I had in that particular trash can was 15 turkeys. The most I put into that trash can was, I believe, 17 turkeys, but I have a trash can that I bought, cleaned out, and only use it for brining turkeys. I use it once, maybe twice a year, cover it back up, put it back into the other side of the garage, and when it comes turkey time, I actually go into the garage, dust it off, clean it up, wash it out, and reuse it. I did say, or I said on a live stream a few weeks ago that I brined it, and I used a big trash bag and put everything in the trash bag. It was a few folks that had some concerns about that, so I didn't use the trash bag this year. I just scrubbed out the inside of the trash can really well. Some long brushes and bending over and really getting down in there. Really, like I said, I purchased that trash can solely for the purpose of brining turkeys. So I only use it to brine turkeys. That's been my go-to. I think I've used that. That has been my go-to solution for the past 3, maybe 4 years of smoking turkeys for other folks. And actually, one of the trash cans that we now use for trash for the house was once used to brine turkeys. I think what ended up happening was I used it to brine turkeys at Christmas, use it to brine turkeys at Thanksgiving, use it to brine turkeys at Christmas, and then I washed it and left it sitting a little too close to the other trash cans to dry, and my son just threw trash in there, or someone threw trash in it, and I'm like, whoop, never using that one for turkeys again. So that one has been relegated to just regular old house trash. But the other one, I do use the trash can, brine the turkeys, and actually I take the whole trash can inside the house. It sits inside my kitchen. I will make my brine solution, and making my brine solution for 16 turkeys, I actually have a video where I talked about cooking a turkey, and I talk about the brine. I usually do, my brine solution is 2 gallons of water, a cup and a half of kosher salt, a cup of coarse kosher salt, a cup and a half of sugar, and then I'll use a handful. I'll wait. Hey, at least they're not coming for me. I'm not cooking anything. So again, that was a cup and a half of kosher sugar, cup and a half of coarse kosher salt, a cup and a half of sugar, a handful of just some seasonings. I have a excuse me, like a garlic rosemary blend that I put in there. I figured that just to add something to give the turkeys a little something, and I'll add a little bit of that per turkey, and 2 gallons of water. What I typically end up doing is I will take a gallon of water and I will mix 3 to 5 cups. Actually, I can put a whole box of the 3-pound box of salt into the water, mix it until it dissolves, and sugar, I can put 5 pounds of sugar into each gallon of water, and I just keep track, excuse me, and I just keep track of how much salt. Like I use one of the tops of the salt box to keep a tally on how many cups of salt I use, how many cups of sugar I've used, and how many gallons of water I've used, and put them all into the trash can. Then I usually just add a little bit of ice and or cold water. So the water that I'm using to melt or to dissolve the salt and to dissolve the sugar is warm. Everything else I'll put in there is always cold, and those two things end up balancing out. If it's cool enough of time of year, I take that trash can, I'll wheel it outside, and I'll let it sit outside overnight from almost 24 hours, but basically overnight from about 8 or 9 o'clock until I'm getting my turkeys together, which probably is going to be between 6 and 9 o'clock as well the next day. If it's too warm outside, what I'll end up doing is just leaving leaving the trash can in the house, in my kitchen, and it'll sit there for, like I said again, overnight from about 8 or 9 o'clock until about 7 or 8 o'clock the next day. I like to try to get my turkeys on the smoker no later than 9 o'clock, so that I can get them started. And I know someone is gonna ask, or people ask about how long it takes to cook turkeys. So oddly enough, this is my turkey cooker. This is Bessie. She's been relegated to cooking turkeys. She is a all wood burning smoker. I have plenty of cooks with Bessie. I will leave a link in the description down below for some of those cooks. But she can fit 16 turkeys in at one time, 16 about 15-pound turkeys in at one time. And the first turkeys will typically be about 3 hours in cooking, and then the turkeys that take the longest will be probably 6 to 7 hours, depending on the size of the turkeys. So this particular year I got lucky. All of my turkeys were less than, like, the highest or the biggest one was like 15 and some change pounds, maybe 16. But in years past, last year, I had a problem where I had some turkeys that were closer to 18 pounds. And those turkeys that were huge in comparison to some of the smaller ones that were in the 12 to 13 pound range took considerably longer time to cook. So just be careful with your turkeys and everything like that. But again, you're looking at between 3 hours and let's say 7 hours for some of the longer, bigger birds. And I tried to keep my smoker at between about 250 and 300 degrees with an average of about 275, just so I could help bump the cook, or help the cook along. So hopefully that was helpful, D. Hopefully that helped. I know I gave a little bit more information than you asked for specifically. You just wanted to know how to brine the turkeys, but I figure if we were talking turkeys, I was gonna maybe answer a question that someone else might have in regards to turkeys and cooking a lot of turkeys and how long they take and what temperatures to cook them at. Those are the typical questions I end up getting when I start telling people I smoked 15 or 16 turkeys. So thank you, D, as always, for watching and asking great questions. Thank you so very much for watching and leaving your comment down below. We are only, what was this, number 12? We are only 12 episodes in. So don't be bashful. Make sure you leave your comment with your question down below. There's still plenty of time for me to answer it. So thanks again, as always, for watching. I'll see you next time.